Welcome, ladies and gents. I am in something I didn't think I'd sit in for a little while, a German car. We're in a BMW, a 2009 E92 BMW M3, which an awesome subscriber, Hugo, has brought down for me to review and just kind of give my thoughts on it, really. So thank you, Hugo. I really do appreciate that, good sir. And basically, so the story goes, is that I've had German cars before, and I ended up not really liking them. So this is kind of a review slash a bit of a test to see whether I can like a German car. Which, side note, I've been driving it for a little bit. I actually really quite like it. But the story is, I've had two Audis, and they've had massive electrical problems. I like the interiors and stuff, but I didn't like dealing with the electrical issues. So this big dumb V8, naturally aspirated, 420 horsepower. Yeah, you said, yeah. And we're in M mode. Been driving it around without the M mode, and it was interesting. Like the throttle, you said it was the sort of comfort mode, didn't you?
Yeah. So you can poodle about, and the suspension is much softer. And then as soon as you put it into M mode, you get the more responsive throttle, and the suspension stiffens up.
Wow, yeah, okay, that.
And it keep going if you want to put it up another gear.
Yeah,
go.
So I haven't managed to accelerate yet. We've been waiting for it to warm up, and obviously for me to get used to it, because whenever you're driving someone else's car, it's a very unnerving experience for the first few seconds. You're like, oh, sort of coming to grips with it and things like that. So that was the first time I sort of boosted it a little bit. It wasn't even that much, but that's got some real torque behind it, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's interesting. And thankfully, there's not so many people on the road today, whereas the last review had quite a few people on the road. That's nice. It because it's NA, so obviously being used to the Z, which is NA, power delivery is all the way up to red line, just nice constant power. It doesn't feel like it drops off. And is that your experience with it as well?
Yeah, I haven't really driven a hell of a lot of other fast cars. I drove a 355 Ferrari that was a V8 as well, and that was a childhood car. The noise it made. I remember Jeremy Clarkson doing a review on it, and he was like, "It's the best Ferrari ever built."
Yeah.
And it's so having this, I just felt like, yeah, it sounds very similar. The power builds. Tick the box.
And so you said, so modifications to this, there's not really any, is there? You've kept it very standard. The only thing that was changed was something to do with the exhaust. So you said that they've taken something out of the box. No, they've opened up the box, the back box. Yeah. And then they've stuffed it with something.
They wrap it.
Wrap it. Is that heat wrap? Do you know? Or do you not?
I will have to check.
Yeah.
My garage guy, MVT, they do it the same way. He said it's a good way to make the exhaust sound louder. Cut a hole in the box, open it up, wrap the exhausts, and then they weld it back up.
Interesting. So if anyone that's watching this kind of knows what that is or why, leave it down below, like what the system is, because that's interesting to me anyway. So my general thoughts on the interior, I've always loved German car interiors. Like, they're undeniably nice and plush, they really are. It's not something that you can really argue with, and I'm sure, like, is your experience with German cars predominantly, or have you had? You did show me the other car that you...
Yeah, the Citroen Diane. I mean, that was a fun beach car.
Yeah.
But I had an Audi A4 for a while, which again, the interior is nice.
Yeah, German cars, nice and plush.
I had a BMW. Was it 316? It was the E36 maybe. It was an old. It was an auto, bit of a dog. But yeah, this is certainly sort of the more plush end that I've ever owned. And we do have an X5 as a sort of the family car, which again, interior is nice.
Yeah, but, I mean, their interiors are always nice. And now other car manufacturers are catching up with them, if not sort of equal I like the interior. The interior is really nice. So I talk through my drawbacks that I've ordered, that I have noticed. The clutch is quite high up, and feels assisted. It feels like it's assisted in some degree. There feels like there's a big disconnect between my foot and the transmission. I don't know why. That's how it feels. But you said that like it's heavy and high. Was how you described it, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a long clutch.
Which that's why I'm sat super far forward, because I'm not like a super tall guy. I'm not super short either. But it feels like I need to be super forward to sort of chuck my foot down. But that would be a drawback. Just speaking sort of open and honestly. With respect to the M mode, really does bring the throttle response to life for sure. Because before I tried doing some sort of rev matching downshifts and things, and I sort of missed it a little bit on 1 or 2. But this is much more responsive. Which you predominantly, what do you drive it in normally? M mode or the other one? Just sort of comfort mode.
Yeah, if I'm going to be like hooligan mode, I'll put it into M. But just, driving to the shops or whatever, I just have it in comfort mode.
Yeah. Well, I guess you're used to it as well, though, aren't you, with the throttle response?
Yeah, long distances, it only goes into M mode, for special occasions, let's say, save those rear tyres.
Well, yeah, true. And there's no other. What's the sort of upgrade? It's got a carbon roof, hasn't it? So it's got carbon
that's
roof.
Standard.
See, I like that. That's cool.
So yeah, the car is stock completely, apart from the exhaust, but something BMW didn't tell me when I bought it off them. But
yeah, you
hey,
said it.
there haven't been any upgrades. I mean, I had the throttle actuators done by a guy in Kent, because throttle actuators and rod bearings are the two things that usually typically go with the 90 range of E92s.
Yeah. What size are the wheels on this? God, that sounds good, doesn't it?
I think.
That sounds so good. I do like the sound of that. This is my first V8. I've never driven a V8 before.
Okay.
It's an interesting sound. Like V6s, they tend to sort of scream a lot. Well, they don't tend to scream a lot. The V6s I've driven scream a lot, because obviously they're the VQ engines out of the Z cars.
Oh yeah.
And they have like quite a unique resonance. They scream at the top end. They're very high pitched.
They just doing some research on it. The power and the range they can get out of this V8, they've really wound it up.
Yeah.
Unlike some V8 trucks that you can get in the States.
Yeah. Just getting back to sort of observations on the car. Driven it slowly, obviously driving it fast, it does appear, and you guys can correct me because I don't know, but it does appear that the steering gets nice and tighter, so very loose, not sloppy, but very, very loose, very easy, very assisted at slow speeds, and then at this high speed, like, it's quite heavy, which is nice. Like, that's a feature of a lot of modern cars, sports cars, that they have an adaptive steering. And it feels like this has it. I don't know, but it definitely feels tighter, and that's nice. Like, it feels good as a result of that. But we're going to sort of drive around a little bit more and push it through some kind of corners and see how the suspension holds up. You did say that you tracked it once, and the brakes weren't so happy with you at that point, were they? So that's a drawback, I guess. Obviously not what I'm going to feel today, but one which you felt. So the brakes, because the brakes are good. Like, I think the brakes are really solid, but they don't hold up that much on track.
No, I mean, for road use, they're fine, but after a million laps on Donington, at the end of the day, the indicators were coming on, and it was like the brakes weren't happy.
Yeah, goddamn. It's not what you want, is it?
No.
You don't want that.
But I didn't crash it. So.
Well, that's good. Well, that's good.
And like this guy in, he was in I think it was a Westfield that he had rented.
Oh no.
He had binned it into near where the pit lane was.
That's not what you want.
That's a bad day.
That is a really bad day.
Yeah.
it is genuinely a nice car.
It's a good all-rounder.
What's the back like? Can you actually fit people in there or not? Because that's the downside to a lot of these sort of sport coupes, that sort of thing, is that the backs are unusable. But is that usable in your experience?
Yeah, I've sat in the back, and you know, long journey, you wouldn't want to go that far in it.
Yeah.
But it's got more legroom than most. I mean, I sat in the back of a Mini once. It was just like, this is redundant.
Yeah.
But it's good. The middle seat there isn't a middle seat, so it's just for two. Police.
Yeah, it's quite ominous. What are you doing? Right, we're doing the speed limit anyway.
Just tucking himself away there, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was quite odd. So you guys wouldn't have seen this, but a police car looked like it was coming out of a driveway, and then just sort of backing into it a little bit, and then just sort of sit there. Obviously, he's waiting to capture people speeding. Obviously, bloody sods. I'm sure they do it in the States too. I've heard in the States what they do is they have a quota of speeding tickets that they need to get to, and so if they don't get there by the end of the month, they then end up coming out in force, just getting everyone as much as they possibly can.
Rack them up.
Yeah, basically. So other sort of observations, I really like the shifter. It's a very short throw, very short throw, which is nice, obviously. Hugo was saying that people change them out. I personally wouldn't see why you would want to. This is quite a nice throw. It's short enough, and it's quite clunky. There's a nice sort of, yeah, like it's stiff to sort of get into gears. It's not stiff. I can't remember. It's no, it is stiff. Like getting it into gear, there's a clunk to it. There's a sort of a confidence-inspiring clunk. It's not easy just sort of flicking it between the gears. It's not loose or anything like that. Yeah. I can't remember how people describe it. Was it like a clunky, like a stiffness to gears? I can't remember how people bloody describe that.
From first to second before it's
that does have a clunk.
Yeah.
But it even has a clunk when it's warm. Like there's seemingly like a clunk to it. See, it's so small. It's such a small little movement. Where are you going? No. We're stuck behind people. Very frustrating because I want to put it through some corners. But there's a nice place up here we can overtake actually, if there's no oncoming traffic. Right guys, I just realised I didn't actually film like an outro to the M3. That's a really cool car. I really enjoyed that. Massive props to subscriber Hugo for letting me have it for the day as well. For a few hours, drove it around and stuff. I really like that car. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to buy a BMW anytime soon, but I tell you what, it's definitely convinced me like they're good. I always knew they were kind of good, but yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Big V8 raw. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you're a subscriber and you got a cool car, shoot me an email. Email is in the description box. Be cool to meet up with more people and also drive some cool cars. But thanks so much, ladies and gents. Give it a big thumbs up. Do subscribe if you're new here. Cheers. Love you. Bye.